another episode of Discussions of Exploration, here with your host, Sabrina Ben Salmi. Today, I am joined with a very special guest. His name is Andrew Mondia, and he is such a beautiful soul in so many ways. He's known us for many, many years. As far back as 2012, actually, we had the pleasure of connecting. And I can honestly say, since the first day we've met him, the consistency of love, care, support, and just literally saying, come and do this with us, come and do this. He has been so amazing, to the extent when I was pregnant with my youngest son, Andrew actually invited us to a blessing that was taking place in central London for someone that we were huge fans of. And he was like, oh my God, like, how on earth do you know all these people? Andrew has a treasure chest of phenomenal contacts. That's all I can say. So we ended up going down to central London, spending the up morning to afternoon with Andrew, and guess who was there? Dr. Emoto. So if you've ever watched a movie called, oh God, what's it called? Andrew.
What the bleep do you know?
Yeah, that's it. So Andrew, thank you for helping me. So what the bleep do you know? Watch the movie. So what he actually talks about is the hidden message in water. And I was going through a lot of issues during my pregnancy. No one really could pick up on what it was. They would say, it's this, you're just tired. And I just knew something wasn't right. So I had some Reiki sessions, and every time they placed their hands on me, there was like this movement. I thought it was wind. And cut a long story short, I had a blessing from Dr. Emoto himself just before he passed away, actually. And let me just tell you, when I actually gave birth, I gave birth 3 times. Usually it's 2. So any woman that knows, when they give birth, you give birth to a baby and you give birth to afterbirth. I actually gave birth for the 3rd time. It was actually a blood clot that was the same size as afterbirth. So for me personally, I thank Andrew so much, because I really believe that encounter really did save mine and Amir's life. So without further ado, Andrew, please introduce yourself to our listeners and our viewers, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you for having me, Sabrina. I'm Canadian as well as Swiss. I have dual nationality. I was born and raised in the province of British Columbia in Vancouver and Victoria, which is on Vancouver Island, well, near Victoria. I started out just being a wonderful, fun-loving kid who enjoyed performing for people, thanks to the inspiration of my paternal grandfather. When he passed away when I was 14, I consciously chose to pursue a career in acting, in entertainment, in the film industry, because I'd done a lot of theater work. When I moved from Vancouver to Victoria, I started to get into acting. Before then, I was just singing and dancing, being a kid. When you're doing something as a kid, there's always something out of what you've done as a kid that you can do as a career choice. And not many people who's 14 years old, because I was 14, it was the first week, and I was kept back a grade in grade 8. When my grandfather died, not many people around my age really knows what they want to do, because you're still in exploration. So I started to pursue a career in acting. I've traveled a lot in my childhood, and so traveling for me is second nature. And when I left school, I decided to go to Switzerland to live for another year stint, because my parents inherited my ancestry goes back into Switzerland. That's why I'm Canadian Swiss, because I have Swiss nationality through my parents. And so I started my journey, and I just, for me, I just do things because they feel right to do them. I've always been like a feeling person. So when someone asks me, like, how do you do this? Like, when you meet people, it's like Sabrina, you're asking me, it's like, how do you meet? Like, when we came across Dr. Emoto, it's like, well, it's just, for me, it's second nature. I've been, before the secret came out, or what the bleep do you know? And we all, on some level, we all utilize these gifts that we are given from whoever you like to call it, like the higher being, the higher source, or your God or your spirit. We all utilize, we utilize our feeling, we utilize like what we see, the auditory, like when you get some idea that comes to your mind. And I had, for the earlier part of my childhood, I was living in Vancouver, and living in the city has always been something that I love to do. Although, and then we moved to the countryside just outside of Victoria in a place called Sydney. And so I always was attracted to living in a very multicultural populace. And I moved back when went back to Canada. I moved back to Vancouver, and then I decided, it was something was not feeling right. I'd been going through a what I thought was a nervous breakdown one year, which was 2004. And it was, sometimes your spirit will talk through you. I discovered afterwards when I started to go on a spiritual journey. I read a book called Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Mace. I first started off with Doreen Virtue, and everything that has led me to where I am has led me to learning what I needed to learn at that time, the people that have crossed my path. And uh, I knew that Vancouver was not the place for me to live in. And then it brought me to London, where I was there for like 7 wonderful years. And along the journey, I got to meet the wonderful Sabrina Ben-Sami, as you all know from the beginning of the interview. And so I've been on a spiritual journey, not just as an actor, but as a person. And I've always enjoyed putting the light into other people's lives, inspiring them. Because, at the end of the day, it's about connecting with each other and lifting our vibrations to a higher level. It's about, why I don't understand why people are so competitive, so fearful of not sharing your gifts to other people, or putting your ideals onto other people, because each person is here for a reason. You may not agree with the other person, but it's about respecting, okay, yes, this other person, they view it that way. And you know what? I respect you for viewing it. I may not see it like that one, but you know what? We can still be friends. And and then I got into when I was living in London, you know, I just, I cross paths, I do things, and it's like it's about being aware, about being open. One of the greatest things about learning to be an actor, and studying acting or doing improv as an actor, it's great for everyone to take some classes. It's not just for those that want to be an actor, because you know what, you're learning to utilize your intuition more, being aware, because as a person it's important for us to be aware of our surroundings. Because if we're not aware of our surroundings, and you're just going through life following other people, or not knowing what is going around, then there's, the enjoyment is not so much there. It's just, you're just living, and that's all it is. But to fully and truly live is to embrace your gifts that you have, because each one of them has gifts. We all have different passions. I came across it was about 2011, 2010, and then 2011 I met I think it was 2011, I came across this process called the passion test. I met the lady. She's actually a friend and a mentor. I met her 6 months after I was introduced to this process through this organization. I mean, literally, that's how fast I've attracted things. It's like you, I read something, or I'm like, with Doreen Virtue, I came across the Healing with the Fairies Oracle deck, and I was like thinking, oh, it would be nice to meet her, and like, and it's like less than a year later, I'm there sitting in a workshop with her in Vancouver, and it's like, oh my God, and it was very, it was very like, it was like, oh my God, and it was very powerful because at that time, Doreen Virtue was so heavily into angels, and I actually put her on a pedestal for some reason. And the way she set the room up, she kept it at a very high vibration that following afterwards, uh, I literally saw an archangel cross my vision. I was like, I saw this really like this pink dot, the pink color that you see that's on the dress of Sleeping Beauty in the Walt Disney movie. When the fairies argue they want blue, pink. Well, that pink dot, I literally saw a colored dot go like zigzag across my vision. I mean, but anyways, so I heard I heard this the creator Janet Bray Atwood speak, and this was like the day before this course was going to take. Anyways, but it's just when something feels right, you just do it, and that's how I've been moving through my life, and and I've literally lived and traveled around the world over a 10-year period. So I started from Vancouver, went to England, moved back to Switzerland for a third time, then went to China to teach English for 10 months, and then back to North America. And I came back almost close to the 10-year mark as to when I left Canada. And even now, I'm still on a journey. I don't know where it's taking me, but part of my journey is a desire to continue to be the light in your chaos, and to share a message that different is fun.
Wow, wow, wow. Andrew, what a spicy and fruitful introduction. Listeners and viewers, would you agree with me that you're in for a treat? This is only the beginning, guys, and this is Andrew being Andrew. And Andrew is actually known as a social butterfly. You will get to know more as to why that's what he is, because he just literally flies around the world, connecting with people, activating people. And I really love, to be honest, like you are a true embodiment of that, because I know that my eldest daughter also was fortunate enough to be written about in a book that's actually in the Congress. It's in Washington DC Congress Library because of you. So Andrew often and continuously just floats around the world, connecting people in an essence of just bridging the gap from where people are to where they desire to be, and then he just flies off again and then checks in on you. But you know what I love about you is the authenticity and transparency. And I know that you were talking about this sometimes. It's like, how can we learn to have more of an open heart experience in this playground that we get to call life? And I would love you to just like share your perception of that. How can we be more of a fuller, authentic personification of who we really are? How can we learn to do that more, Andrew?
Well, one of the things is the most important is to be open to what is in front of you. It's because if we're not open, then it's hard to receive what people want to give to you. It's there's a law of attraction of receiving and giving. I've discovered, I love to give. I really do. And it's one of, and we all, everyone, even people that are high up there, have challenges. And it's about what we do to overcome them as well. And, being open to this, to what you can say are signs. You know, anything that's esoteric is really, it's not really esoteric. It's just, it's the way of understanding how we operate. like you go somewhere, you meet people, you get a feeling or a sense or some knowing that, you know, this person is wonderful to connect with, or, you know, you're feeling kind of off on this person, so you hold yourself back. So our senses are what guide us into where we want to go, and don't be afraid to utilize them, because at the end of the day, it's the gifts that you have been given that will help you to connect more to what it is you want to do. Another thing is, it's important to do what you love to do, because if you're not doing what you love to do, then you're not going to be happy. You know, it's amazing that there was a study done that more than 3/4 of the population aren't happy what they do. It's and you know, I mean, yes, we have to make a living every day, but it's also to incorporate doing the stuff that you love, so that way it can balance out. And you can make money from what you love to do. There's ways to find it. There's tricks. I mean, you know, yes, I'm pursuing an acting. I'm not like Tom Hanks or Tom Cruise yet, but there are ways that you can go about doing what you love, uh, and still be happy and enjoy it. Because, you know, before we have this pandemic, I got a job working as a school driver, driving kids with disabilities to school and back home. And you know, and I look at it as part of uh, part of a lesson for me for when I do acting work, because you know, as an actor, it's important to have all these different things. But as a person in everyday life, it's good to explore different options, like go into different areas, because you know, when you have that experience of being in jobs, you'll know more as to what it is that you want to do, and that's what's most important. So just, you know, be open to the adventure ahead of you, really.
Wow, wow, wow. I love that response. And I love how you ended that. Be open to the journey and the experience. Do you know what I love most? You shared so much, and listeners and viewers, I urge you to take notes. You know what I love about what you just said? Is that in the personal development, often people are silenced and saying, oh, you cannot make money from what you love, that's a hobby, forget about that, it's stopping you from earning. Well, I actually agree with Andrew. I actually agree that you can make money from what you earn. And I think the only reason it's not showing up is because of the previous programming of it's a hobby. We can't do what we love. And I totally agree with Andrew when he's saying that we each have a sacred gift. Not only do we have a sacred gift, that sacred gift is something that can generate income, that can be transactional once you know how. And Andrew has phenomenally put together a host of products and workshops and, you know, mentoring, so much products and services that can help you in your life. And towards the end of this interview, he will be leaving some information on how you can reach out to him. But I think I really want you to saturate what Andrew's just said with regards to that. What if you gave yourself permission to truly be who you are? And what if just by doing that, that's all you've ever needed to allow the finances to start flowing in? Because it's that ebbs and flow where I'm listening to people and I really want to do this, and my heart's telling me I should do this, my head's telling me to do it, but then someone comes along and says something else, and then that self-doubt kicks in, and then you go, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to. So I really want you to listen to that. You know what's quite interesting? When I was listening to you, it took me back to your previous answer around when you were 14 years old, you didn't quite know what you wanted to do. And I think this is so important around this time, because I'm hearing lots of different conversations with parents and saying, you need to know this and you must know that. When I was 14, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Why? Because when we're in this world, we have this synthetics of where can I fit into? What hole do I fit into that society has already created? Whereas if someone had asked me, what do you enjoy doing? I would have been able to have an avalanche of responses. Andrew, what kind of percolates in your mind when you think about that?
Well, for me, it was not what I wanted to do, it was who I am when I was 14, because I was going through an identity crisis. Um, I a few months before my grandfather passed away, I tried to commit suicide because of the bullying, the physical and emotional abuse from my father. And I didn't realize at that time. I was also, I was probably, uh, I didn't realize about my sexuality at that time. It was only till at the end of high school when I started to explore my sexuality. But even then, because of the how I was raised in the religion and having family that were so into the religion, but uh, so there was a lot of things that were going on. And, as a kid, it's important to, enjoy the journey and don't, you know, if you're pressured into deciding, it's not, a kid needs time to grow on their own and to be on their journey. It's not a matter of parents forcing their kids and saying, you know what, I want you to follow in the footpath, because, I'm actually seeing some shows where there's been the struggle where the son or daughter argues with the parents that they want to follow this dream, and they end up leaving. And it's important for parents to be supportive of their kids in the journey that they are. And yes, you can set boundaries and say, you know what, if you want to pursue this, you're going to have to do it on your own, and fund it yourself. But I will be there, but be there as an emotional support person. And being their rock and ground, and telling them, but I'm going to be there for you as as that emotional person. I will be your devil's advocate, because even though I'm for this, I support you, because at the end of the day, we all have different things that we want to do. It's not just, if you have an ideal that and you have a family of like 5 people, and you want the eldest to follow in your footsteps, it might not be the eldest, it might be the youngest that wants to follow in your footsteps. There might be other people in that line. um, and I mean, as a kid, um, it's just one of those things that it can be like, we're bombarded with like the education system, and and it's not, it's broken, really. I mean, uh and that's why some people like you, Sabrina, homeschool your kids, because you want to provide them the education that it's for life, because not everyone it not everyone going to a higher education is right for them. We it I grew up, and probably you grew up, Sabrina, in an environment where we were in the paradigm that getting a university degree or a college diploma was the thing to do. But if you look at it, some of the big entrepreneurs like Richard Branson, they never went to college or university. I mean, that's why they have a team around them. They created ideas, they had a vision. And if you have a vision as to what it is you want to do, because at the end of the day, anything that you learn in college or university can be outdated the next day. I mean, look at computer technology. I mean, literally, like 30 years ago when I was in high school, we were on only like a desktop computer, and it was like very low processing. Now we can be on our phones, using that as a computer, on an iPad, or on a laptop that we can mobily easily take around us to places. I mean, and even that, I mean, the software on our technology, it gets updated. Like you buy it one day, and 6 months later, oh, we have something new that's even better. And it's important that, you know, we keep educating ourselves. We learn from other people because, you know, along my journey, I've had some wonderful, great lessons. And um, and just honor the moment that you are in. Um, I'm going on with a story a bit, but it's just, you know, kids need to honor the journey that they are on, and just, you know, accept who they are and not be afraid to even tell their parents, you know what, I don't know, but you know what, I'm still in school, I still have time, you know, and you know, I'm when that time is right, I will let you know, but do not, please do not force me, because at the end of the day, it's my life, and you know, honor my choices. I just want to enjoy myself.
Wow. Do you know, I love what you feel. You seem to really drop the golden nuggets at the end of you tie everything in. I think it's so empowering what you said, because I know that my life would have taken a very different turn had I have had the confidence to say that. I remember having a conversation. So I wasn't raised with my father, but I met him after I was 9. And I remember we had 3 options, okay, to become a doctor, a lawyer, and an accountant. And I was like, oh, I thought there was life, I thought there, and I always questioned, I was always into the essence of, if we've been in existence all these years, why is it the same roles that we're going into? And why do I only have 3 options? Like, it really infuriated me. So hearing you say that statement is so liberating, because the more we can own who we are, or the discovery of who we are, because sometimes we don't know who we are, just to say, can I just go on this journey? I think and this, listeners and viewers, I don't think this is a message to children in the physical form. I also think this is a message to you and your inner child. I think this is something that we can utilize at any point in our life and just say, I don't resonate with what's showing up for me right now. And I know I need to just regain control over who I am. For myself, I started to make decisions in my life when I was about 35 years old. It took me such a long time to really own that space because of the environment I was growing up in, how things were around me. I didn't even trust myself to make my own decisions. So I love what you're sharing with us, Andrew. And I really love the authenticity in that, just finding out and navigating and playing as a student in this beautiful life that we get to expand in, investigate in, explore, and be experimental. And I guess you touched on something with regards to, you had to learn a lot of lessons along the way. I wonder if you can share some of maybe 3 biggest lessons that you've learned in your journey.
Yes. Well, I guess lesson number one is to keep following your dream. Uh, and even if the dream changes over time, you know, I still have my dream of being an actor and working fully in the film industry. That has not gone away, but be open, because we don't, like, we come into this world, uh, apparently we come into this world with a soul contract, or so they say, and you know, we are, we don't know what it is that we're here to do, but honor the gifts that you have, because there are other gifts. Like for me, one of my gifts now is speaking to people and inspiring them. As someone this past week had commented, I'm a transformational character builder, and that was like a really a nugget for me, because I was just like, okay, and I own that, because it's something that, you know, because I like to inspire people. Um, the third thing is, you know, no matter who you meet in your life, they're there to give you a lesson, to educate you, or to inspire you, to be with you on your journey, whether it is for just, you know, a moment, a couple of years, or for the rest of your life. You know, because we can learn from each other. Um, and you know, and as I said, it's, you know, all of them, even the third point, it's all about being open, because that is the biggest thing, is to be open. Uh, at the end of the day, if we are not open, um, then it's going to be, life is going to be a challenge. Look to things. And the third thing, even though the being open is a major, is a major factor, I want to throw in, this other point. This other point is, you know, it's about how you look at things, because that's a big factor. Because if you see things in a negative light, then you're only going to see things in a negative light. Um, we, you know, it's amazing. I mean, do an experiment with yourself for like maybe a day, only see things in a negative light and see where it leads you. And then for another day or a week, see things in the positive light. Look at, um, look at what it is you're looking at, and, you know, be grateful about what it is that's there. It's like, um, you know, for instance, like the bullying in grade school. You know, it it helped me to understand about myself, and that, you know, when I look at it now, I mean, at that time, um, it was a horrible thing, but at the same time, it gave me the strength to realize, you know, I'm not like other people. I'm different. I am, you know, because I never really, you know, I had the challenge growing up of not connecting properly with other kids, and part of it was because of my upbringing. But it had nothing, you know, when I look back at it, it probably had nothing to do with that. I mean, yes, I created my own bubble, protective bubble, because of what was going on, but it also, I also knew what I wanted to do, because some of my, uh, the people that I grew up with, they admire me for still going for what it is that I want to do. I mean, they're amazed. I mean, they're, some of them are amazed at where I've gone and what I've done. I mean, literally, like in '95 when I was living in Switzerland, I I literally went on a journey. I went to, anyways. I went to Egypt, um, for about a week. I did not have like a visa to get into the country when I had my plane ticket. I did not know. Like, I went down there because I wanted to meet someone that I knew from Canada that moved to Egypt, and I hadn't seen him for a long time, and I was hoping to reconnect and see him. I didn't have a place to stay when I got there. I just was like, it was just like, uh, the thing is, I was living in Switzerland when I called the Egyptian consulate to 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 get this visa. It was going to cost like 300 Swiss francs, $300. And I just, you know, I was like totally in my own world of negativity. I went on the plane that I spent for $600, or Swiss francs, went on the plane, had a nice plane ride, flew over on a beautiful day, flew over the island of Crete, arrived into Cairo, get off. I see this booth with a hotel being advertised, and I'm like, well, I need a place to stay. I stayed for 3 nights at this hotel, uh, where I had a lovely view of the Giza pyramids. And I told the guy, you know, I'm going on beyond the question of what I was originally asked. So this is, it's, I, but I told the guy, I don't have a visa to come into the country. And he's like, oh, no problem. I get you taken care of. He took me before passport control. He took me to this other place. And for 20 US dollars, I was given like a visa stamp. I was given a little visa stamp, and And on it, get this, and on it, it was like 7 days to whatever, and that was exact same time. That was like the exact time because I only was there for like 6 days visiting the country. So it was the time, it was the exact period that I needed to visit Egypt and see it, and I enjoyed myself, and I had a journey of like I could go on with the story, um, but it goes to show you how open when you're open and you do things. But even when you're naive, the universe guided me in such a way to have such an amazing adventure. I mean, it was just like, wow.
I, I I cannot get over the fact that you actually entered Egypt without having a visa initially, and you got one for $20, and it should have been 300. Like, how? I didn't know you could do things like that. Oh my god! Do you know what? That really is a good demonstration of surrender into the organic process. Like, never would I imagine getting on a plane and entering any country without having a prerequisite of what they've told me. So it really is about surrender into the process. And I think listeners and viewers, I think that there's a teaching in there, if you care to listen, in that how much allowance and space do you allow in your own life for things to show up? Like, do you fill up so much of the spaces so there's no kind of space for things to just organically take place? For you to just trust the ebbs and flow of life. And what I also liked about what you shared was it's not so much of what happens to us in life or happens for us. More importantly, it's all about our perception to what it is that we choose to deem the meaning to be. Like the bullying, you suggested that in high school, the bullying helped you to discover who you are. Now, at the time, I'm sure you didn't go, oh yeah, brilliant, well done, I'm going to find out who I am. But now when you look back, you can see the lessons that it taught you. And I think these are such amazing lessons. And listeners and viewers, I think it'll be so amazing that after you've listened to this interview, to just go back to the start and listen and pause and take notes, because I think the most important thing about this conversation is that you are able to insert your own personal life experiences to an essence so you can resonate and understand and empathize with, okay, how can I connect this to my own life journey? How can I learn to shift my thought process around this? How can I learn to realize that life isn't happening to me, it's happening through me, and it is for me because it's for your benefit. But the key here is that if you choose, I really love the fact that it's all about our own perception. And that really points to a question that's coming up in my mind, Andrew, with regards to what is the personal journey you had to go on to get to this stage? I would imagine you didn't just go, okay, I'm bullied, and then next morning you woke up and goes, okay, thank you, bully, thank you for helping me. I imagine you had to go on your own internal journey of self-discovery. I would imagine that you had to go on a road of healing, be that spiritually, physically, whatever it was. It'd be amazing if you could share that with our listeners and viewers.
Part of my journey was working on myself, doing, like as a like new age type healing modalities, because I wasn't, I was always, yes, I was outgoing. I like when I talked to people, it was wonderful. But inside of myself, I was hurting. And um, part of that was I up until like 2003, you know, growing up, when I went to college, because I did go for a bit to college before I had this epiphany moment, I went and had a test done, and I was diagnosed or labeled ADHD. Uh, my brain waves were going at such a speed, literally, like I was thinking like trillion thoughts a second. It was like when you were, if you were to talk to me at that time period, I would jump around. I seemed very scattered. I would like talk here, talk there. If it wasn't for doing this thing called the assemblage point, a session doing that, um, because it helped. It was a natural process that helped bring my energy, my brain waves to a more manageable level where I can actually, instead of taking a drug to um, to help think more clearly, it actually naturally brought my brainwave to a level where I can actually think more clearly. I don't have those trillion thoughts like I did back then, but I mean, I still jump topics. I mean, that doesn't change, but and I can still do talk without speaking or put my foot in my mouth, but but I'm not like, but I'm able to think more clearly. It's uh, I mean, all these different, modalities that people are teaching. There's, you know, we have, on the one hand, we have the scientific, the doctors that you go to that will prescribe medication for this and that. And I chose to go a more natural route. Um, and it was like in 2003 when I tried going into like did personal training where I hired like a trainer to exercise with, um, and one of them is a really good friend. He's a fitness model, um, and I remember when I went to train with him, and he was recommended. You know, it's funny because I found that when I went to people, things didn't work out, and when people were introduced to me, they worked out. Um, and I'll talk about that in a sec. First, I'm gonna finish the story. But anyways, I literally like I exercised 3 times a week with my trainer. He had me on some sort of nutritional plan, and I slept really well. And as a result, that helped with my so-called ADHD condition. Uh, it's it's really like in Germany they don't call it ADHD. It's not. Any diagnosis that we've been given can be controlled with the proper exercise, nutrition, and being able to sleep. I've even gotten into meditation, quite more so recently. At that time, because I had such a fast thinking mind, I was all over the place. Guided meditations were what helped me. Um, and, and I just find that as the years progressed, I've read books on my own self help because, as a person, it's important to work on yourself and grow every day. I mean, I used to like listening to music, and now I don't because I enjoy the silence of my thoughts, of thinking. Um, I still love going to the theater, going to see operas and musicals, and and it's amazing what like manifest. I mean, we just had like before this pandemic in Toronto, we had the musical Hamilton for the first time come to Toronto, and within the first month, like first few weeks of it, like it was only around for like a month, but after like a few weeks, a couple of weeks of performances, I entered the lottery to go see the show, and I won a $10 ticket, and I sat in like to probably a $100 to $200 seat or something, the most expensive seat in the house. So I'm saying while I'm talking, I'm seeing Sabrina like, oh my God, she's like so amazed. It's like that. I mean that, but um, one of the nuggets is there's a thing I came across called human design profiling. There's 5 different profiles and strategies. Like we all fall under, most of the people fall under a strategy of waiting to respond, um, waiting to be invited, and it's all about the questions that you ask yourself. One of the things in the passion test is there's 3 things: intention, attention, and no tension. And the no tension is about the how. When you ask yourself an how question, it's going to tense up. You're going to tense up. You won't know how to do this. And when I came across that, I'd sort of like realized, well, wait a minute. Okay, yes, we had The Secret come out, talk about, you go out and you manifest, and um, but it didn't really complete the formula for me until I came across the passion test, and it made sense, when we focus on what it is we want and going for it, and doing what we want to do, and we let the journey of getting to where we want to go happen, then it's going to work more in our favors. It's gonna do a lot. I mean, yes, I've always wanted to be an actor, and if I just stuck to being an actor, which I did at the beginning, I was so stuck in working. I was cutting myself off, really. And when you cut yourself off and focus only on the one thing you want to do, it's like it's you're not living. You're really not living. Um, I mean, I was doing acting classes. I was so focused on getting my first paid speaking role that I was missing the journey, because our journey is the story, and it's also how it helps other people see that, what, we have our own, each of us have our own hero's journey into where we want to go. Some, the the story might happen sooner with our success, and others it might happen late. I'm a late bloomer, and I think right now is it's my journey. It's like things are like, for me, they're starting to open up because I've worked on myself, and it's my gift as an older person to inspire and talk to people, to perform and bring the light into someone's life. Uh, every book that I've read had to do with at that time in where it is that I was going at that time to get me to the next path. I mean, literally, when it comes to meditation, I heard about this thing called Vipassana when I was living in Vancouver. Uh, it's a 10-day silent meditation retreat center, and it was back in like 2005 when I was introduced to it through a blog post that I read when I was living in Vancouver. I signed up, but because I was working when I signed up to go to this thing, I had to cancel. And there was a few times where I signed up and I canceled because of other commitments. And it took me a good 10 years before I actually went to a center to learn to go into this 10-day silent meditation retreat. I mean, I never thought I could survive because I like to talk. And literally it's like, and it took me a journey around the world to finally actually go and do it. And I did it, and I even went back like half a dozen more times, pretty much to sit and serve and really get into like the meditation. My first experience was magical. Um, but there's a saying that, I forgot the exact expression. It's something to do with like, the teacher will show up when you are ready, and that's what's been happening for me. It's like, and it's all about being open, because you know what, there could be something you listen to on TV, something or like you watch on TV, or something you listen to from a podcast, or a book that you come across online or in a bookstore, and all of a sudden it'll pop out in you and say, oh, this is like, I really need to look at that. I need to read that. Or someone that you hear when you go to a live event to listen to. Like, for instance, Richard Branson. I never in a million years would have thought that I would have gotten to meet him. And I was living in London when this happened. I was at a book signing of his, and I got to meet him. I was just like, I saw I and I, I'm like Richard Branson, who I mean, okay, I mean, it's just like it's just like when I went to meet Dr. Emoto, as Sabrina said at the beginning. I just, I saw, I just see an event that happens, and that person, and I just go and I meet, and the interesting thing is we could have a picture with him. They wouldn't allow it. However, in Waterstone's bookstore near Piccadilly Circus is the venue where it was being held in London, England. Uh, Afterwards, when I was going to a law of attraction meetup group that was being held downstairs in the coffee shop, I literally one evening I went down the stairs. I see this picture of Richard Branson and some dude shaking hands with him. I go back. I look at the picture, and I'm looking at that dude and recognize, oh, wait a minute, that's me. That's me. So I'm that dude in that picture, and I'm just like, I'm like, oh my god. So it's like, so it's but there are all these, like, I could go on and talk about things that I have done to make these happen. But what's important is what are you doing to help yourself? What are you like? How open are you to bringing this in? Because it's important for us to live our lives while pursuing our dreams. You know, yes, it's like I'm a firm believer that we should follow what we love to do, but don't make that the main focus point. You know, do live a life and follow the path that it's going to lead you while still having that focus to get to where you want to go. Because when you follow your journey and the adventure you go on to get to it, it's going to be even more enriching in what it is you want to do. And like my journey has taken a really windy road. And I mean windy. I'm like, I've I've still worked in the film industry all these years, and I've had the pleasure to work with award-winning actors and directors, whether it's been, just doing background work or voluntary, where I was a part of the London 2012 opening ceremonies for both the Paralympics and Olympics, where like the Olympic ceremonies were uh, was run by Danny Boyle. I mean, I never thought that I would get to hang out and talk with Danny Boyle. I mean, he's such a nice and professional guy. I mean, and and I also met Stephen Redding at the press conference. Stephen was like, but it's like, um, but it's just who I am. To be honest with you, I mean, you like we as I said, it's a part of who I am. There's something, excuse me. There's something a part of yourself that is different, that is unique, that you do. I mean, and look at it as what it is that you're doing.
Beautiful.
As my friend and wonderful author who I got to meet after reading his book The Magician's Way, William Whitecloud, it's about your genius. I mean, I right now I'm into William Whitecloud, and understanding the ways that have helped, and understanding also the ways that are holding me back to becoming fully, truly who I am. And but it was just like, and it's important to do a lot of self development work for yourself, because when we're like the generation above us, yes, we learn from them, but also they've had mistakes as well. And, you know, it's a two-way street. We're both the teacher to them and we're the student. Everyone is a student and a teacher in life. And we're not solely, oh, I know this and you don't know that. We're not a Mr. Know-it-all and a smarty pants. It's like, you know what? You're doing it wrong. You got to do it this way. It's the essence of, you know what? We're educating each other.
Beautiful.
We're collaborating with each other to learn from each other. And that is probably the best place to stop this.
Do you know, Andrew, you actually somewhat have given a closing message, but I wonder if you wanted to say one final brief statement to our listeners and viewers before giving them contact details.
Well, I'm just going to say what I said at the beginning, is being different is fun.
Beautiful. Quite clearly, concisely. Listeners and viewers, Andrew's telling you that being different is fun. So he's inviting you to come and play in the playground that we get to call life. Andrew, where can our listeners and viewers contact with you? Do you have a website? Are you on social media? Can you share some of those?
Well, I have a website. It's Andrea Mondia, and my last name is MONDIA.com. Or you can reach me on social media. So at Andrea Mondia, just search for my name, and you'll be able to find me. I'm on most major social medias. Some of them I use more than others, but you know, reach out to me or through my contact form on my website. And I look forward to hearing from you. I'm also going to be launching my own podcast called Intuitive Traveler soon.
Oh, wow. So be sure to give us some details about that so I can put it in the description. It's been a pleasure listening to you, Andrew, and sharing with you and making me laugh. You know, while you were on talking, I'm just like, wow, you really are a social butterfly. Andrew, keep touching the hearts of minds of as many people as you can. And thank you for being a part of our journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much.